Ugh.
All right. I guess I'm the lucky guy.
It's accurate.
I get to host the first L of this on, guys. I am Jimmy Toscano here with Bone. Bobby Manning
Let's see how riled
is
up you get.
en route.
We'll see.
Bobby Manning is en route from he's obviously these airlines these days, they can't stick to a schedule, so he's running a little us for this. He's a glutton for punishment just at some point. And about this 120 to 102 Bulls first loss of the year. A game that if you would just watch, the show is brought to you by our good friends at Athletic Greens. We're going to talk a little bit about those great sponsors. Right now, there it is, com.com/garden. You receive 40% off a Com premium subscription. Shout out to Com. We're going to need Com tonight. I know I needed it from quarters 2 to 4. And then athletic.com, AG1, athleticgreens.com/garden, 1 year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Athletic Greens keeps us going throughout the day. Keeps us going throughout the night, I guess you could say. And a little bit of both for both those problems. Yeah, we need all the help we can get after a night like we just had. And the Patriots going on as we speak. That's an interesting game in and of itself. I'll tell you what, the Celtics the Patriots have a big quarterback controversy that will be filling up the airwaves tomorrow. I'm not sure if the Celtics will get much attention locally, but again, 120 to 102 loss. They had a 19-point first quarter lead, Josue, and just like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Was it all in the first quarter that they blew the whole thing? They lose by 18. They were down by 24.
It started before the second quarter, but the second quarter is when things got really ugly, and they just never recovered. It was bad.
Tatum first quarter that we've seen, 15 points, couldn't miss. And then, by the time he comes back in, it's complete. No one's playing defense. The second unit was a complete, in that second quarter there. Hate to say it, Brogdon, my guy, just a little him. Von Lay, I thought had a tough one with that second unit. Grant Williams, a tough one. That's the whole game. We'll get into that a little bit later. Some maybe officiating that too happy with. And our friend Joe Missoula, his first career ejection. And I don't know if he got his money's worth in this one. I don't know if he got his money's worth for that ejection.
He did not.
Seemed like a quick hook. Josue, what are your give me a takeaway or two. Unfortunately, it's we've got a L. We've got a loss here to break down on this show, which I'm sure is going to be hurting him to not be able to. Will be on Patriots post game and shortly after the Garden Report.
Right, doubleheader on CLNS.
Typically, they go about an hour after the Pats game. It's good, but if you guys are hanging around with us tonight, you get the Celtics show, then you got the Patriots. So we'll be with you guys, wins, losses, regardless. But Josue, give me something from the.
Oh man, Jimmy, I don't know where to begin because the way they were shooting lights out in that first quarter, I was like, this is it. This is the game where we get to see them go off from the 3-point arc and just dominate a team because they're just like they're on pace to do that, right? One of the best offenses out there in the NBA right now. So to have that happen and then for them to go a 180 in terms of like getting lazy on defense was really disappointing. And that's how quickly that lead evaporated. I mean, this is still a talented Bulls team. This is still they're athletic. They can get to the rim. I thought the Celtics struggled in protecting the rim. Rebounding has always been, it seems it's going to be an issue, for a while. And it was a big one in this one. I mean, Vucevic, even as a member of the Magic, he usually does things like this to the Celtics, and tonight was no different. But that was like the third person, or second to third person that crushed the Celtics team. It seemed like every single starter in that Bulls team clicked throughout that run. But when you go back to the the way the Celtics were playing in terms of like getting lazy on offense and settling for threes and then trying to get that magic again in the second quarter, I thought that's how that lead disappeared that quickly, because you can't just try to duplicate what you did in that first quarter. That was unbelievable. 8 for 10 from three. Every single starter was making a three, had at least a couple. It felt like, and then they just dropped the ball. Look, to go down by 19 against this Bulls team, I mean, and then you want to talk about how bad things got in the second quarter. Why did Joe Missoula wait so long to call that timeout? I mean, it was the first timeout of the game. Not only did he wait until the lead was completely gone, but he waited till the Celtics were trailing the Bulls to call that timeout. Look, I know he's a rookie head coach. I know we talked about growing pains, but that was shocking, Jimmy. I mean, I'm really surprised that no one on that bench could have said, hey, coach, we really need to call a timeout before the Bulls get rid of this lead or they get rid of this deficit. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, you were kind of watching the lead dwindle away a little bit. And when's this first time out coming? I think, like you said, Josue, it's a rookie head coach situation, a little bit of adversity. I think that one was just a situation where it happened. So maybe you get the inexperience from the head coach, and then obviously Stoudemire coming in. Maybe one of those assistants would have said, "Hey, let's reset here. We don't like what we're seeing on this. Not getting back." I mean, the Bulls they just went into a second level that the Celtics didn't get into. That second unit for the Bulls completely just outran.
Yeah. Yeah, the second unit, they struggled. Yeah.
Yeah, what you kind of saw was, I think the Celtics started settling for threes, and a lot of them as well. Guys, I'm going to try to
and the thing,
figure it out at some point.
Yeah, we're trying to figure this thing out, but yeah, go ahead. I mean, why people screaming at me like, tell Jimmy knows, he knows. But yeah, look, when Tatum was cooking like that too, just the way he started, I mean, you wanted to see this team continue to play that everyone gets their touches and swing the ball around, make sure the movement is there and look for the open guy. And they were knocking down 3-pointers, but at the end of the day, trying to get back, as Jimmy's going to try to figure things out. I guess it's going to be the Josue show right now, but trying to get back and to knocking those 3-pointers, that's no recipe for success. You got to revert to playing elite defense. You got to make sure that you protect that lead. And again, look, as soon as that lead goes down to single digits, you have to call a timeout in the situation just to reassess everything, just to make sure that whatever's happening, that they can stop it before the bleeding gets as bad as it got. I mean, look, I get the mentality behind letting your guys go out there and figure things out on their own, but when it gets that bad, when you see a 19-point lead start to fade, I mean, I just thought it was a really bad call for them not to whistle for a timeout.
Just a couple of stats we'll run through here. Celtics from the field, 37.4, 37.5 from three, 26-6 turnovers. Bulls right under % at 48 from the field, right around 48 from three, 29 assists, 60 rebounds. Vucevic, Drummond. One of the things that everyone wondered. Yeah, and one of the things we did wonder about the Celtics was how they were going to match up against teams that had those big rebounders and guys that were able. We saw it tonight. I mean, the Celtics did not have much in the, and Drummond's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny too, Jimmy, because this was my concern going into the regular season, that the Celtics would get too comfortable with winning like this, right? With getting hot from the three, buckling down defensively, having someone like Brogdon to weather the storm if there was ever a comeback. And I just felt like this was the bad habits that we saw about a year ago from today, right? Or at least, when the Celtics were a 500 team, middling in the Eastern Conference, and we saw them blow leads like this, like it was their job, like it happened time and time again. I just saw a very less disciplined team this time around. And, I don't mean to put this one on Joe Missoula. I mean, of course, he didn't help, with his decisions in this game. But I also think that the Celtics, they just got way too comfortable with that 3-point shot. And they tried to get back to doing that. And they never got back to playing the kind of defense that they needed to play. And then they got beat up, honestly. The front court, guys off the bench, the athleticism. I thought the Bulls did a really good job of just countering the Celtics' attack. And in that second half, they came out at halftime with the same energy. The Celtics just couldn't match it.
I'm seeing that Gary Washburn tweet will apologize to the team.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to get to that. Yeah.
For getting booted. Anything or is that you seeing the same?
He said that I think I'm seeing the same thing. He said that he apologized to the team, apologized to the locker room.
Okay. I mean, situation. I don't think I think anyone who watches that whole thing back probably would say them as that tech. But basically, what happened was earlier in that quarter, Tatum got teed up for reacting to a call that he and later on, Vucevic had a similar reaction. He got called for something that he disagreed with, or I think he either got, but Vucevic's reaction practically almost took her out when he reacted, and no call. So Tatum comes, to the court, basically saying, why isn't he getting a tech? I just got a tech for the same thing. And I think Missoula was essentially coming to defense for Tatum in that situation. He got 2 quick tees and he got the boot. Damon, at the rest, I think at that point the wheels had started to come off anyways, in terms of Celtics sort of fighting back in this game.
Made things worse.
But exactly. Frustration kind of boiled over there. But listen, we've talked about it. John's mentioned the referees. There's a big notice when the referees walk into their. Don't take any shit from Jason Tatum. Anytime the slightest,
I was like, where are you going with this? Yeah.
He's not going to get the benefit, right? I mean,
that's true. And why is Grant falling in that category? They
don't like him. They think that he,
Right. But why is Grant falling in that category? We've been talking about this for weeks. I mean, John sniffed this out back in the finals, and rightfully so. And then it just carried over. And then, now it's part of his personality. I'm the guy who complains. It's almost like a Draymond swag, honestly. It reminds me so much of a young Draymond, but without the type of I don't know. It's almost like referees look at it and being like, you're not really that upset sometimes, And then when he really is upset, it's almost like, wait a minute, you're the guy that was just joking around me. I don't know. It's a weird dynamic now, or it's starting to get into weird territory between Grant Williams and the officials. Whether it's him joking around when things are good, or with situations like this where he does the dramatic walk-off. And look, I don't think he intended to hit that official. I don't think he meant to make contact. But why do you have to get up and be all dramatic like that? And why go in that direction? I don't know. Look, I get it. In the heat of the moment, you react the way you react, and you're upset, and you're down, and you know that you blew a 19-point lead, so it isn't easy. But he's gotta find a way to tame that. He can't just react every single time there's a foul against him. Relax, Grant. We like what you're doing right now in terms of the role that you're in, but don't tarnish it by doing things like this or making this a habit.
I think again, him and Tatum are kind of like two peas in a pod in that sense, right? And they're rubbing off on each other. I mean, he was frustrated because he got called. He got called for that really wasn't one. The play right before that, and he was on tilt, so he was already pissed off when he got the blocking call, and he just jumped up, and I know he bumped into the ref. I don't think he meant to.
So dramatic, bro. Come on, man.
Yeah.
It's not a 2-point game. I get it. Okay, yeah. When it rains, it pours. It was pretty bad at that point. But I don't know. It was a lot, honestly. And I don't an official guy made contact with it. I mean, yeah, they're gonna do that. That's an automatic ejection. That's just what happens in the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking quickly at just on Twitter, and Missoula says, he has to have better composure under the circumstance. In a game that kind of, I think Missoula obviously was thinking about that blown lead, and he let the emotions of the game.
Yeah, he did. But he also
we'll learn from it. I mean, it's.
No, I was gonna say, I feel like he should have if he spent more time out, or if he let out that frustration sooner, maybe this doesn't happen, right? Maybe he doesn't let that stuff boil up. So whatever. I don't know if he said something that crossed the line. He probably didn't. Just maybe he just said something that was smart. Whatever was said, it was enough to warrant that, or it wasn't. But that's just what the official decided to do. And I feel like he's got to, I don't know, man, he's got to even this thing out in terms of like controlling his emotions and his timeouts and all that. That just really didn't help the Celtics at all. You know, it's not the reason they lost, but it just didn't help whatsoever.
So 15 points in that first quarter, 26 on the game, and like the rest of the team, cold. I mean, he finished 8 for 18, not the worst efficiency, but certainly when you start the way he did, this is with just 26 points on that type of shooting. Jaylen Brown 8 of 23. You had Brogdon 5 of 16. Only 4 shots for Marcus Smart tonight, 4 for 6, and then Al Horford. He was putting up 3, and he hit a bit of a cold streak, and then I don't think
he made those 2 in the first quarter.
Just a weird game.
Yeah,
just a weird one.
It wasn't, but that's what we talked about going into the season, though, right? When everyone is like, how is this coach going to be put in such a big spot? Well, how are they going to face adversity? How are they going to respond to adversity, rather, right? And this is obviously the first big test, the first loss of the season. I mean, they're riding high off those 3 wins, obviously, going into this one, and it was sort of that game, I guess, the one that you start off so well, everything is great, and then all of a sudden the sky's falling, and you forget how to make it stop.
Guys, we're waiting for Bobby to get here, and then I'm gonna try to figure out my Wi-Fi situation. I know it's probably struggling. I don't know why, but it is. So when Bobby jumps on, I'm gonna jump off and see if I can figure it out. Just bear with us for a few more minutes. I think Bobby's pretty close by, but that's just the situation that's what we have to work with right now. This is
right.
Typically it's Josue with the Brocky with
Yo, hey, I sympathize, man. I'm not gonna be like, that's why when people are like saying stuff in the comments, I'm not gonna be like, Jimmy, come on, fix it. I'm the last one to talk about that, about connections. So.
I know.
But yeah,
so
I feel your pain, Jimmy.
So that's where we're at. Yep, at with this one. I mean, I'm the Celtics a few days off now. Your Wi-Fi needs Athletic Greens. Fact. Very astute.
Yeah, this is a good time for that break for the Celtics, right? Yeah.
Few days. I mean, obviously it's not a physical. I think they've certainly got a lot to look at now, right? They've and they see what happens when I think they took their foot off the gas on the defensive end, and defensively in the game they won either. I mean, they're scoring a lot of points. They're also giving up points. I don't think this team can play like. I don't think that they can just assume that they're going to drop 120 points a game. It's just not. Right. It's just not the case. As talented as some of these guys are, sure, Tatum and Brown easily. But I just think it's not the way they won last year. And majority of this roster is back identity, which was, on the defensive end. That was their bread and butter. I know they don't have Rob Williams right now, but they still have to play offense. When you start letting the Bulls beat you down the court and score in transition, they're getting back, setting up on the defensive end, like you're the opposition's pace. Where this team needs to get out on the break. They need to make those stops on the defensive end. Yeah. They need to run back. And now with that whole, take foul being gone, it's even more reason to play that stronger defense and get out on the break. Like that's how they're going to win their game. Yeah, so
that's a good point.
It was just very uncharacteristic to see that in the second. What they tried to do, they fell back into that trap where we saw 2 years ago, try to get back in one shot, just three-pointer. Right. They weren't even trying. Yeah, they weren't the paint, and and that's part of the reason why on the rebounding end as well. So, just a few.
Right. And the way Tatum and Brown have been playing lately, I'm with you, Jimmy. That's true. I mean, it's just that can't be the true identity of this team, though, right? Of the offense, it can't just be those guys. Obviously, they're going to lead in scoring. Tatum looks like he's on pace to average 30 or more. So there's no problem there. And Jalen not going to be that far behind, but they have to be that kind of team where the defense leads to offense, In this game, this is a great teaching moment for them. Obviously this is a good team. They went in hot going into this one, and this is the sort of thing that can happen when you're maybe a little, overconfident when you're hitting 8 of 10 in the first 6-7 minutes of the first quarter. Get out to a 19-point lead, and you start to get lazy. So this is a good teaching moment for them. They never that was the best first quarter we've seen from them throughout this 4-game stretch. So yeah, they're 3-1 now. They got this great break, this long break to make sure that they can go through those plays, what went wrong, and Joe Missoula can continue to talk about. I mean, hopefully he talks about this whole tech and attitude thing that these guys got going on, because it's got to be addressed. Hopefully he does. Maybe he doesn't share that with the media, but I think it's worth bringing up that these guys, they have to control their tempers in a sense, and Joe Missoula obviously can be the one to attest to what can happen, but these guys have to know that they're experienced. These are vets we're talking about. Tatum, Grant's getting up there. He's got plenty of experience now, and these teaching moments should go a long way for these guys. But at the same time, they have to get back to that being that defensive team that they were. They have to make sure that with the rebounding deficiencies that they're able to make up with just tough nose defense, and that would lead to quick, fast breaks. And the first 3 wins that we've seen from the Celtics team, that's been their MO, right? Getting out on the fast break, moving the ball, but getting stops, stringing together stops, and getting out to big leads in a hurry.
What did you think of Zach LaVine tonight for the Bulls? They're always that team that you have to show up for, because they've got obviously a guy like DeRozan, who was out last year for MVP, LaVine. They've just got some guys thing tonight, and he's been just a consistent force. I don't think they love him in Chicago. I think I recall like a lot of people being like, "Oh my God, this guy," but he's still a player that's given the Celtics fits over the years, and he's just a complete player.
He always grabs like 20
and then
rebounds
Caruso.
when he plays the Celtics, and he got 23 today, Jimmy. 23 boards. Like, that's just nothing to him when he gets the Celtics. Like, that's just what he does. So that didn't help them at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's 18 and 23 for Vucevic, 19 points for DeRozan. Just some good production all around. They've got Caruso are always getting in the mix, like a big energy guy for them. So, the Bulls get their win. Celtics get their first loss of the year. I don't think it's anything to panic about. It's one game. The Celtics weren't going to win all 82. There's just some habits that you want to avoid. It's, this team needs to be defense first. And I just back to what Josue, when the head coach has to call and tell the guys, listen, we're getting away from that defense-minded basketball. We can't rely on every single shot to fall. I mean, Tatum's not going to score 15 points a quarter every single. It's not going to happen that way.
And especially when you're giving up a lot of points in the paint, just layups, fast break points. Offensive rebounds. I mean, like, that's the stuff that's gonna make it really hard for you to win without Jalen and Tatum, combining for 70 points. Like we said, that can't happen every single night. That can't be the identity of the team. They're way more talented than that, And I think that, listen, we talked about this team surviving without Rob Williams. It's going to be tough and all that, but I mean, this foul trouble thing going on with the front court, I mean, it's happening every single night. I mean, the defense has to find a way to sort of just against these type of teams where it's vital to protect the paint. It's vital to have that front court. I mean, they have to, without getting frustrated like the way Grant did and got himself ejected. Guys in the front court are so pivotal, and Al Horford has been, he's been doing a good job, but he needs some help. I mean, guys have to be available. So that's another thing. That's another part of this as well. I mean, Grant Williams getting himself ejected didn't do these guys any favors in terms of trying to strengthen the defense in the front court. Because I think that was the biggest problem in this game.
Yeah. No, it was.
Vonleh was battling too. He got 2 fouls in the first quarter. Sorry, I'm responding to people in the comment section. Vonleh got picked up 2 quick ones.
I'll say this though, those Vonleh fouls, if you go back and watch them, I think I'm gonna be a
Yeah,
Vonleh
I know. I'm
fan.
with you. I'm with you.
2 phantom calls,
Yeah.
3 total. I think he got called for 5 fouls. 3 of them were horrible calls. And I don't usually get on the refs, but those are 3 bad calls. I think they kind of let the game get away from them a little bit. I don't want to go full Tommy Heinsohn tonight, but when you look at the free throws, Celtics took 12, Bulls took 29. Again, I also know the Celtics took a lot more threes and they weren't really getting, trying to get enough contact and trying to go to line as much as they needed to. So I'm not going to say that was no reason. I mean, pointers tonight, and the Bulls only took 20.
What's up,
Bobby,
guys?
what
Thanks
are
for
your
holding it
thoughts,
down.
man? What happened? What happened in this game? Because in my opinion, there's a lot, and we went through a bunch. So it's up. We want to hear your take now.
Yeah, there's 2 things hot on my mind, and I don't think anyone wants to hear us talk about the refs all night, but we all
Jimmy
watched
was a
that
bucket.
Montreal game, and we saw Tatum and Grant and to some degree others getting caught up in the incessant complaining. And it's interesting, the 2 games I've gotten to watch pretty close to the court so far, Montreal and Orlando, you can hear it from the sideline, them yelling out for calls in Montreal, even assistant coaches. Grant screaming after that early knockdown foul in Orlando, or no call rather, when Tatum shot the corner 3 and kind of got knocked to the ground in front of the bench. They're going back and forth. Players have gotten teed up in a couple different games now. Tatum in the opener, I believe Grant might have in that last game, and then tonight you have Tatum, you have Grant taking that path toward the official. You just can't do that. You have a million different paths to take in that circumstance, even if it was incidental contact.
Right.
Yeah, just a ridiculous thing to do. And I haven't seen if he's responded. I know Joe Missoula apologized for whatever he did, and that seemed kind of like a shaky call to kick him out of the game there, especially when he had no technicals. But you'll live with it. Lose Missoula, not lose Tatum in that circumstance, who was complaining, but the team just crumbled after. And you have Smart talking to the officials after back and forth transition sequence, and you have the team generally just not getting back there at the whole game. Like it goes back to a lot of different things I've asked this team so far. And number one's the officials. They shrugged that right off when the ejection happened in Montreal. Number 2, is this new take foul rule that we've talked a lot about, right? You can't foul to stop transition runs.
Yeah.
And they got run off the floor tonight in transition. So clearly that's a bit of a point of adjustment. And all I've heard from them so far is that it wasn't really going to affect them. So the defense is bad right now. There's no more denying that. You're not protecting the rim at a high level. You're giving up a lot of jump shots in this drop defense, which they haven't adjusted out of too much. I didn't catch a ton of the second half, Josue. Were they still kind of dropping back and letting guys shoot with the center there? Yeah, they've been doing that the whole time so far.
In transition, they just weren't getting back, and then you had the athleticism of these guys. I mean, they'll blow past you. Vucevic will get things done in the half court set, but
rebounding, that's all effort, right?
Yeah. What was it? 15? They gave up 15 offensive rebounds. I think they only converted to 16 second chance points, but that stuff kills you when you're trying to stop the bleeding, and that's exactly what they were trying to do in that third quarter. They just couldn't. It was a type of run where the Celtics just they reverted back to those old habits that we talked about before you hopped on, and it just seemed like with no head coach, Joe Missoula got ejected and Grant Williams got ejected. It was too much for them to overcome, in my opinion.
And you've talked about the jump shooting, Josue. 48 threes again in this game. The reliance on that is clear so far. You hit some early. You go on that great run in the first quarter. You have almost 40 points there, but you give up 30, and then you rely on it for the rest of the game, and it's not there from that point on. Second half, I'm going to look exactly at what it was, but they shoot 33%, 7 to 21 from 3 there. That's pretty much
something else too, Bobby. But go ahead.
That's pretty much their percentage from the field. So offensively, you're pretty reliant on that jump shot. A lot of guys don't have it to start this year. Even Brogdon, I haven't seen him hitting at a high rate. Smart has struggled immensely from the field. I think we looked at a graph that showed him as one of the worst two-way players in the league, like analytically so far in terms of efficiency. And Brown too, 0 for 2 in that second half. So offense wasn't great either there. And that's what allows for the Bulls to get out in transition the way they did.
Right, exactly. And that was the second quarter. To me, when they got the double-digit lead, it was when Celtics were trying to recreate the magic from the first quarter. And what did they go? 1 of 11 going into the halftime, or at least in that quarter.
In the
Just
second
wasn't good.
quarter, they were 3 of 16 from 3, 6
3
of
of
25
16.
from the
They finished
field.
with 316. It was one. I think it was one out of 11 to up until like the 3-minute mark. But this is
And
what I
to
want
your
to bring
point,
up.
how
Oh
can
no, go ahead.
almost every shot in a quarter be a 3? 16 out of 25? Like that is
It's just
crazy.
laziness. It reminds me of what this team looked like a year ago when they were
And
middling
they
around
did that in
500.
Orlando. I don't know how
Yeah,
much you caught of that game, but they
yeah,
were
they did.
settling throughout and they got lucky in that game. So we could be talking about a 2-2 team at this point.
So this is what I want to ask you about. Bulls, you raced a 19-point deficit. They pull ahead 46-44 with 7:47 left to go in the second quarter. And Joe Missoula calls his first timeout. Bobby, is this a big problem or am I tripping? Am I crazy? Like, am I just overreacting here? Like, why wait so long to call a timeout?
I didn't love it in the first game where we talked about it,
Yeah, but this is
whichever one that was,
worse,
the
Bobby.
Miami one. But this,
19-point lead you let disappear before you call a timeout. I'm really surprised.
yeah, I don't love the strategy of letting them play. Like that's got to be his role, is to have that feel from the sideline. And so you're concerned on two fronts with Missoula tonight, right? The first
Mm-hmm.
one is that timeout strategy from him doesn't seem to be the right approach. I don't at least think so. We'll see what happens with more and more games under their belt here. And we're 4 games in. So I don't think we know for sure whether that strategy works. I don't tend to like it. John didn't like it. You don't like it as well. Tatum and the players like it though. So
I mean, you
it
do
might
it
be
in certain
something that just
stretches,
appeals to
Bobby.
them.
But look, if you got a 19-point lead and it's down to 9, and they did that quickly, right? Like 3 to
Yep.
4 minutes. I'm calling timeout. It's like I don't understand why wait so long and then like what's the sense behind that? Unless these guys really are calling their own shots here, and if that's the case, then I don't like this team's chances in terms of when they face adversity in close knit games, because their personality, in terms of their attitude, and look, I know it's only 4 games, but this is something that we're going to talk about, obviously, and it's going to be a talking point, because when your head coach gets tossed, when another key player gets tossed, and you blow a 19-point lead, you go down by what, 22 at one point, and the Bulls score 120 on you, after the first 3 games. It's a complete 180 to the team that they were, so.
You're right. One timeout in the first half. You can't save them, right? You lose some at halftime, you lose some into that fourth, and then into the final minutes of the game. So you already saw the lead start slipping at the end of the first, and you didn't have a
Especially
big
on the
lead.
road. Damn.
Yeah.
Like, I
And
don't
you
know.
didn't have a big lead going into the second quarter. It got down to 9 after it was at 19 by the end of that first there. So you
When they
already
started the
felt
second.
momentum starting to change.
Right,
And we know
exactly.
what Ime would have done, right? Ime would have cut it off early. Like it would have gotten down to like 16 or something, or 14. It wouldn't have gotten down below 10 before the end of the first quarter without calling a
No chance.
timeout. So
He would have called
yeah,
3
I haven't
timeouts
loved that. Like
by the time they pulled the head. Like,
at the same time, though, to your point, Josue, like this kind of is a player-led group right now. Joe's admitted that he's going to lean on these guys to manage themselves to some degree, and these are the nights that you worry where they spiral mentally. Like
yeah,
they got caught up in complaining, they got caught up in transition, they got caught up in defensive mistakes, which I think are a constant theme so far early this year. So this is a night where you really need a leader to emerge, and unfortunately, when it comes to that officiating issue, I think they're all on the same page in terms of seeing the refs as out to get them, and I haven't seen a lot of the post-game reaction here yet, but again, no one in Montreal after Tatum got ejected said, we can't do that. Like, we can't have that in the regular season. In a big game, we can't be taking technicals. That's not the reaction they've had, and that's why we're seeing it continue.
Well, when that type of moment that we saw in the preseason happens during the regular season, and that's when they're going to have to answer those questions,
It could have happened tonight. I think, like,
I mean, it could have, yeah.
I know everyone's confused by the Missoula ejection. I think, and obviously I wasn't there, but I think they ejected Joe to leave Tatum in the game. Like they could have called a tech on Tatum complaining there, and it would have been his second, but they went with Joe instead for some reason, which is really weird because I don't think he said anything.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm like, what
It
could he
was
have
so
said
random.
to earn that? Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. That part. I mean, it seemed like the Celtics were maybe too far behind at that point, but again, it didn't help. Like, I don't think this loss falls on Missoula, but he just didn't help. And I think the Celtics have to find that balance between him calling the shots, and the players doing their own thing. And I think it starts with timely timeouts. I think that was a big thing for this team. Like you said, I mean, Ime was huge on that. Sometimes he would have just enough towards the end of the games to use in close spots, but he was very strategic when he called his timeout. So I think that's important, especially on the road. They got to figure that out.
So Jimmy is figuring it out. He's got the Brockton Wi-Fi. He's resetting completely. So I have a feeling he's going to be good when he comes back. He had it for a minute there. I was watching in the Uber. He had it when he first popped out and you were doing the Josue show, but it slipped again. It happens, guys. Give him a break. We are going to talk about some sponsors here, which, of course, are not right in front of me at the moment, but you know who they are. Com is with us again. And they are the best app to relax your mind after a loss like this. I know people are going crazy. We need it tonight. That means like you could be up on your phone complaining all night, or you could be getting a good night's sleep. So once we get off the air, stick with us till the end of the show. But once we get off the air, go to com.com/garden to get 40% off a premium subscription. And what does that get you? A lot. Sleep sounds. We love those. Those are my go-to. The rain, the fan, the ocean, the forest, whatever you want, it's on there. You can get bedtime stories. You can do the calm of the day midday. If you got to go into work tomorrow and you're still pissed off in the morning, you might have to reset at lunch. And that's what the calm of the day is for. I'm also thinking meditation when you wake up is a good one. I also believe they have yoga on here, which I got to get back into mid-season here. So I'm going to go over to Calm.
Back into? And you're a yoga guy? I didn't know that, Bobby.
I tried it out last year. I loved it. Good way to get away from your phone and get your muscles loose and everything like that. It's good stuff. So
that's what I hear. I've never done it though.
Calm.com/garden. You can go do it on Calm. 40% off a premium subscription. For listeners of the show, they're offering an exclusive offer, so you can go over there and get that and help out the show. Deal. 100 million people around the world use Calm to ease their minds. And then we have Athletic Greens. athleticgreens.com/garden. This is the powder. You've heard about it. The good powder you put in your water every morning. Throw it back.
That's it.
What are you getting? 75 vitamins, minerals, probiotics. Help your gut. And the key one here is the vitamin D, the immune boosting vitamin D. They're going to send you a year's supply. And it's getting rainy out, Josue. I just came out from Florida. I'm not ready for this.
I was just gonna say, look at you with no jet lag, just going right into the read. There you go.
Yeah, so I'm not ready for this weather up here. It's looking bad. I went down there right at the right time, but this is the problem with coming back is you hit that rain, you hit that cold, you hit those early. I hear daylight savings time is about to end, so it's all bad out there. But when you try Athletic Greens, it's going to turn good with vitamin D and your travel packs to take to work, give you a nice energetic boost. And that's the thing this time of year. You need that little boost with the dark mornings and dark nights. Have this in the morning, you're just going to feel a little bit more pep in your step. You're going to feel healthier. You're going to feel just overall healthy and well-nourished. It's whole food sourced and tastes great. So go check that out. They got cool gear as well, as you know, and we're still doing it. No phenomenals tonight. I don't have a single phenomenal to throw out there, and we had a lot of them in the early shows this year, but when you try either of these offers, and they're both great products, we love them, we're going to send you a phenomenal t-shirt, and we're still waiting, but word is they'll be here soon. So let's welcome in our friend, Jimmy Toscano, once again, who I believe is back queued up here.
Jimmy? Why'd you intro him like that? Our friend. Like you had a special guest or something. What's up, Jimmy?
He is our friend. When our friend's here.
Our friend. Can you guys hear me and see?
Yep, you sound good to me.
I don't think anyone's friends with me tonight in the chat. The connection issues.
What are the people? Oh, yeah.
I was doing like a mime thing for a second.
I just went under the hood and I had to rewire some of the Wi-Fi going on in my apartment here. So I'm operating my connection right now has never been clear. It's never been clear.
You went into the wiring?
I went under the hood, dude. I had to go under the the bureau. I had to rewire a couple things.
Jimmy had those glasses on.
Restart. I pulled up the app. I had to restart the gateway. I had to do it all. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah. I kind of like the setup with the Guard Report logo right there. I like it.
What did I miss? People are saying I'm still buffering. What did I miss?
Yeah, he's not 100%. Everyone's mad about the loss, Jimmy.
Just
They're
don't read
being
the
too
don't read the
tough on you.
comments. They're upset. They're
They're
emotional.
mad. I'm wondering what the commenters are saying about this game. I haven't dove into them too much, but what is everyone hot on? We talked a little bit about the refs, Jimmy. How can you not out of this one? And my big thing is everything that's happened tonight, they've brushed off for the most part. The complaining, the defense. Well, they've hit on the defense at times, connectivity and all that. So I'll give Joe credit for that. Like, I think he's been tough on the defense, but they've mostly focused on offense to start this year. And you're seeing the defense slip, which is concerning. I think we've seen enough of a sample size at this point where not only the strategy, dropping back there big and letting a lot of jump shots go, but also their approach in terms of preparation to defend in transition, to defend the post, to rebound. It's all shown to be a little thin. And let's get into the bench now because this bench was bad tonight. Starters came in, set the table in the first. They were rolling. Tatum comes out. I thought you had pretty deep bench units, especially in that second quarter where Hauser was in there. But I think you hit on it earlier, Jimmy. Bad night for Brogdon. You were going at Brogdon a little bit, weren't you?
Yeah, you were.
Oh yeah, no. I was going at that whole second. Brogdon, those guys were.
Grant was
a huge
awful
part
tonight.
of that.
Yeah,
you called him
back.
pumps.
I mean,
and Vonleh, like this Vonleh thing, what has he made? A few good plays so far. I thought he did an admirable job in the second half of that first game on Embiid. But really, it's Horford doing the heavy lifting at that position. Grant's helping out, defending more bigs than usual. And so far, everyone who freaked out about backup big man, and I know we all rolled our eyes on it mostly on the show. I did. But I think they're vindicated here. Vonleh is not getting it done. Blake Griffin, a signing I didn't like. Not really working so far.
Yeah,
and then you have Luke
Bron,
Cornett stashed on the bench. What happened to Luke? Where's Luke?
You make it sound like these guys, he has to adapt. He wasn't even in the NBA not too long ago. Look, I'm not worried about Vonleh. I think he has to adjust, but those are tough matchups, trying to go in there and battle with Embiid, who he had to do it right away, right? First guy off the bench because they got into foul trouble. I mean,
I like
Grant
the effort.
Foul trouble as well. Like this isn't an ideal matchup either. Vucevic, it's tough. I didn't agree with those calls either, but you can't let that get yourself out of the game. And I feel like that's what happened. I mean, these guys, their emotions, and we knew going into the season is going to be tough without Rob, and this defense it's going to be different. But yeah, I'm with you. He hasn't been stellar, but I'm not ready to just say, oh, okay, Vonleh is not someone that can at least plug in. You can plug in and help out for the next 4 or 6 weeks while Rob is out. I think he's one of those guys that can help you. I really do. Like, what's the alternative? A LaMarcus Aldridge or one of those veterans that are.
Well, right now
they're
at 15 roster players, so they're kind of set. They've made their decisions, but Derek Favors became available eventually. No one has signed him yet, so I don't know what that says about him. But he's out there, and you have, I guess the other one would be, I guess Kabengele's off to G League camp now, so he didn't never emerge as an option. I mean, yeah, it's thin out there, Josue. Like there are not a lot of options, and that's where they're at. But it does worry you that they're not getting by there. Like those secondary minutes there, they haven't killed them to this point. But tonight it became a problem. And then even in Orlando, I felt like they were searching a little bit. Like you saw that Luke stretch didn't work. They had another Luke stretch late in this one. Like it's just not working with him either. They haven't established him there. And then Blake, like where's Blake at? I know it's going to take him some time, but
it was tough seeing him come in with the second unit at the end, or not the second unit, with the deep bench unit at the end of the game there.
If you were going to sign him, Jimmy, didn't you have to be confident that he was going to be able to play?
Yeah.
Like not thrive, not be Blake of old, but play. And he hasn't so far.
Yeah, I mean, it makes no sense to sign him and just to throw him in garbage time, right? I mean, I don't know if he just needs a little bit extra ramp up. I mean, he didn't have, a full off season with any team. I have a feeling he probably came in maybe a little bit behind, and this is a way to try to give him a couple weeks to hopefully find that, find some semblance of who he used to be. But certainly, yeah, you're right, Bobby. I mean, they wouldn't have signed him. They wouldn't have used a roster spot on him just to, guy to play 6 minutes in garbage time. That doesn't make any sense. Bobby, what I want to ask you is not go to Cornette at all tonight. I mean, clearly they were being overmatched down low. So you would think that maybe, and again, I know that Missoula got booted, but even before that, I mean, you think maybe they are going to try to switch it up with some of these big guys when it's not seemingly working?
So this is another decision.
It seemed like it would have been a perfect opportunity.
This is another decision that they're going to have to make in cohesion with the front office here, because this front office, I think, loved Cornette. He was in the starting unit in practice to start camp, and he gets hurt, right? So nothing you can control there. I think he missed most of training camp. So that puts you behind. I don't think he's looked good since. So you can understand why he hasn't been part of the starting unit, certainly, but also part of the rotation here. But they haven't really tried and committed to integrate him so far. Like Vonleh shot ahead of him, and credit to Vonleh. He had a great preseason, great camp. He switches some. He does a lot of the things that they like and can get up and down the floor. The way they're trying to play stylistically doesn't fit for Luke, right? They're trying to run. They're trying to switch. They're trying to be versatile. And he can't really do any of that stuff. He's going to sit back and protect the rim. He's not going to do much on offense other than hand the ball off. So you have a decision to make here. If he's part of what you want to do, you have to start trying to integrate him. You're right, Jimmy. And if he's not, he's got this partially guaranteed contract, and maybe you look elsewhere, right? So you're in the tax. You're able to sign some veteran minimums for like $1 million, and you get some luxury tax payments. And we're not at this point yet, but eventually you have to make a decision if he's a guy on the bench who can't play and you need some help at that spot. So like you got to pick one of two directions: commit to him and try to integrate him in a game like this, especially, or move on and try to find something else there. So we're not at that point yet. Again, we're 4 games in, and this is the first bad game they've had with all this stuff. But this isn't stuff that just popped up tonight, right? Like we've seen them struggling at the backup 5 spot. We've seen them struggling defensively, and we've seen them struggle to connect on that end. So it's been a problem that they've just covered up with great shooting and great offense, and they couldn't do that tonight.
Right, and that's what they try to lean on. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm with you, but I'm not saying he's a lost cause. I just don't think he's there yet, and that could be a lot to do with his health. That can be with him just being integrated to the system. But I just think for what they're trying to do in terms of switching and that sort of presence in the front court with Vonleh, it's almost like it almost gives me some like Bobby Portis vibes, right? I mean, he's kind of like gives you energy just straight off the bench. You can switch. He can hold his own in terms when he gets caught in switch and guarding the perimeter. He can shoot threes.
This is Noah.
Yeah, Noah. I'm talking about Vonleh.
Yep.
Excuse me. We saw his range from the first preseason game that he can knock down that 3-point shot. I mean, Celtics always loved that. So yeah, I agree with you, Bobby. I think he just does a lot of what they need right now. But right now, with the way things were going, I'm surprised. Actually, what Jimmy brought up earlier. I was surprised they didn't go to Blake a little sooner. Like I didn't expect him to kind of go in there with the third string guys the way he did in this game, especially when the Bulls lead turned to double digits. I mean, I was surprised he didn't go deep into his bench and just give Blake 5 minutes just to see if he could do something to stop what was going on.
And the other concern with this depth is that you're gonna have to lean on your starters to get you to the finish line, and that means a lot of pressure on them. And they're asking these guys to do a lot right now. Like Brown and Tatum are key rebounders right now, and I think they're gonna have to do a better job there to help you compete on the boards. Al, we've seen and acknowledged the load that's on him, and he has to take that rest day, even though he didn't evidently want to against Orlando there. So they understand the position they're putting him in minutes wise and how much they rely on him. And luckily, you're a little deeper in the backcourt there with Pritchard and Brogdon and Smart and White. So, again, you're going to assess all this stuff on the fly. I think you're going to continue to experiment. You get 2 major injuries in Gallinari and Rob. This is what happens. Like, you have to go to your depth and figure stuff out.
You made a good point, though, about the Blake thing. At least right now with Rob out, I mean, wasn't that the point? I mean, not for him to be the first guy off the bench. Again, I envision him to be sort of that third string guy, or at least the last guy to round out the rotation, if you will, right? But especially in situations like this, when your front court is in foul trouble and you need to string together some defensive stops just to sort of have that presence. You need rebounding. They crushed them in the rebounding and cleaning the glass. Like, Why not go to Blake when they were down by 10 or even a little bit before that?
I don't know.
They obviously know something.
Did they not
They
trust
obviously
him?
know that he's
Yeah.
just right.
I mean,
Is
we've
it the road
watched
trip?
him.
Hasn't shown.
What does he
Is it
look
just
like
too
to you,
much?
Jimmy?
Just traveling too much? Yeah, that too.
It looks like
He
he can
doesn't
barely
bring a
get above
lot.
the. He can barely leave the ground. It looks like.
He can rebound though, so that's something to consider. But you need to do more than one thing. And like, is he a threat offensively?
Good
Can he
passer.
defend in
Good
space?
pass.
I mean, guys go at him, right? And here's the other thing with this
Yeah.
defense right now. People are gonna say play Hauser. They're going at Hauser out there when he gets on the floor, and he is shot great. I think he sprinkled in some good contributions in short minutes, but
He's
they're
getting
short
there.
minutes for a reason, because when he's out there, they are going at him, and they can't switch, and they can't do the things they want to do on that end of the floor. So
You
that
guys
is
ready
where
to
you.
see my prediction come true? That'd be good. Huh?
What's that?
Sam Hauser being a legit 3-point weapon for this team. It's gonna take some time, but he's showing good signs. He's not buckling under pressure, if you will, right? I like that about him.
He was nice in that Orlando game in short spurts. I think he had a few against Miami too. But again, you can only use him in short spurts, so he's not a backup wing for the team, which is what we've talked about.
Right. But that's a nice weapon to have off the bench, something that they haven't had in a really long time. So
Do we want to circle back to that Grant ejection? I know you guys hit on it, but
Yeah.
like, this is a leader on this team right now, and I don't think he played well tonight. Minus 26. I don't think he made a good decision on that play, whether it was intentional or not. You
Better
don't
not
even
be.
go close because it's automatic ejection, right? If you make contact. So that was tough. That was really tough to see from him.
Yeah, it was. But we were talking about this before you hopped on. Like this whole like dramatic, coming off the floor or getting to your feet and showing how mad you are. Like why does he have to do that? Like that's got to be something that you learn from the NBA finals, or at least you learn just from playing in many years that you have in the NBA. Like that doesn't help. And I get it. Like he's just wired that way, but he's got to find a way to contain that. And I just don't like this whole like it reminds me of a young Draymond. Like it's almost like he's just like stealing it out of the book of Draymond Green and how you
I like that comparison.
The way he jumps up off the floor and pouts and starts pounding, it's so Draymond. It's like a young Draymond, and it's just something that he's not going to help anyone with that sort of attitude. The officials are onto him. They're onto Tatum. They're onto this attitude that these guys have, where it's like, oh, you can't call a foul on me, or I have to demonstrate how upset I am in front of everyone and make a show. I mean, that officials don't like that. I mean, that's what it is. They're embarrassed. Like you're making this big dramatic scene, and it's like, I'm gonna hit you with a tech. That's what happened. They weren't having it tonight.
I don't get it, Jimmy. I just don't. They've seen the negatives of it. It has cost them at various points, particularly in big playoff games. And how much have they learned from that playoff run? We've talked about defensively and temperamentally and offensively, particularly. They've pulled a lot from that playoff run, but they just don't seem to understand you can't complain. You might be right. You might be passionate. You might not have anyone telling you not to do it.
Right.
But as individuals at this point, they have to see you're going to get teed up. You're going to get kicked out of games.
Like, how many times do they change their mind? Like, that's it. The call's been made. Like,
and here's the biggest thing, Jimmy. They have a reputation at this point, right? I think the officials overreacted tonight, but I think that overreaction comes from a place of we're just not taking it from these guys. We hear it from them all the time. Tatum's on us. Grant's on us. Did the coach say something now? Like, who's this coach? You're out of here. Like, you have a reputation, and I think that hurt them tonight.
Yeah, I said that to Josue before you jumped on. I said there's a sign on the referee's locker room that says don't take any shit from Tatum or from whoever. This first sign of something, it's just a quick tee. Like these guys they're not going to get any breaks from the referees, whether it's arguing text, whether it's any sort of blocking charge, whatever you want to call it. They're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. And what happens is they end up playing against the referees. They end up focusing on a call or a missed call, and they're not focusing on the opponent. It's like rec league stuff. You know what I mean? And we've talked about this with these guys for like 3 or 4 seasons now. I mean, when we first started the show, I feel like we had these conversations. So I don't know why that they can't get past it, but that's one of my concerns with, Missoula now being the head coach is, are they going to listen to him when he said, hey guys, shut the hell up and play basketball, right? And Missoula of all people gets booted. I didn't think Missoula deserved to get booted. I mean, I didn't obviously hear what he said, but he got 2 quick texts. I think in a situation where a player is arguing about a non-call or a call, it makes sense to me for the coach to step in and do kind of the arguing for the player, not
That's
in a
how it goes.
not in a
Yeah.
disrespectful way, but in a way where the players won't get involved. So I don't know why they would just tee up the head coach and get him out of the game. And now you're kind of forced to argue with the players because you've eliminated sort of like the liaison there. But yeah, I mean, it starts with Tatum, Bobby, and he's kind of as good as he is, as great as he is. That's one of the biggest knocks you can say about him is that he pouts and complains out there, and he flails his arms, and he
swung his arm on that goaltending call. That's what it was, right?
swung his
He
arm.
did
Yeah,
like
he
a
showed
big
up the
swinging
ref,
arm.
and
Yeah.
the refs didn't
Yeah.
like it. And then the whole thing was that Vucevic did it on the other end and didn't get called for the tech, and that's how Missoula ended up getting kicked out. So does Tatum have a fair gripe there in a way? Yeah, if you're going to call it on one guy, you should call it on the other guy. But it goes back to the fact that they're out looking for it. They're looking for it with Tatum. They're not gonna, he's a repeat offender at this point. So they're not gonna give you.
Seriously.
They're not gonna give a guy like Vucevic who might not get fired up or might not complain about calls as much. They might. It's like anything else in life. You give some people that you like a little bit more of a leash or a little bit more of a break than you do guys you don't like. So if Tatum's now in that category and Grant Williams is right behind him, just like you would expect him to be, and Missoula needs to get through to these guys that they need to play the opponent, not the referees. And I think frustration boiled over tonight. They were missing shots left and right. They weren't getting back on defense. Everything was bricking, and they weren't going to get bailed out by the referees. In fact, it was the complete opposite. So they took it on, a couple of guys took it out on the referees. Grant was obviously really dumb for getting up in the way he did. I'm not saying that he intentionally bumped into a referee, but first of all, talking about a female referee, and I think you just got to stay away. You know what I mean? And then after he got booted, dude, leave the court. Like you don't need to pretend that you're gonna go like running back onto the court and like continue the fight or something like that.
Stop with the Draymond impersonation. Like no one's entertained. Like.
And that's I think they get frustrated that they're not allowed to do that. And then the whole Missoula ejection was like, oh, we can't do that, but he can do that. Yeah, no, that's my point.
Everybody was
you got to win a
the
championship. You got to win a championship.
Everyone saw your behavior. And this is the time of the year where the referees they're quick to do things like this because they want to send a message early.
I got
1 week into the NBA season. We're not putting up with this. We got 82 games on the schedule. We're 3 or 4 games in. Like, we're not gonna put up with this every single time, And
this is the time of the year where you got to figure out a lot of this stuff. And we talked about the timeouts too, Jimmy. I was interested in your thoughts on that. Missoula establishing, the lack of timeouts, establishing that he's gonna let the players play through it, and that works through the first few games. Doesn't work tonight. Maybe it's something he has to feel out as a coach and see what the best strategy is there. But I think it comes from a place of, what am I going to say? Like, these guys are handling themselves. He doesn't want to be too hands-on with them. And that's the kind of coach he's going to be, which works some nights. And on a night like this, you might not be able to stop a big run. And man, was this a big run. It started at the end of the first, rolled right through the second. And that's 14 minutes where you call one timeout. More than that, really.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and it's not like you needed Missoula to call a timeout so that he could draw up, a bunch of plays and get strategic. It's just you got to call a timeout, get into your guys, stop the game, stop the momentum. Just even for that,
like your guys are getting beat out there.
You're on the road. The fans are completely back in the game. In-game momentum. We see it, every single game. How many times do you say it's a game of runs? It's a game of runs. Well, that was a big criticism we had with Brad Stevens, is that sometimes he would sit on that whistle and he wouldn't call a timeout until the other team tied it up or took the lead. So I think stopping that a little bit sooner. Yeah, hindsight's 2020. I think if Missoula had another crack at it, he would probably try to stop the bleeding a little bit sooner. Real quick, I want to go back to this comment that this guy here made. First, you say Tatum needs to show emotion. He shows emotion, gets teed up, and now y'all say he needs to stop.
Drag him, Jimmy. Drag
Yes
him.
and no. And listen, for the record, I think it's a stupid tech. I think that players should be able to, like, in the heat of the moment, every single one of us who has played sports, when something is called or done, and your immediate reaction is what your immediate reaction is. And
Yeah, you're right. We've been there.
I think for what Tatum did, yeah, there is a line where you don't want to show up the ref, you don't want to drag it out, but like, man, if you're waiting for the call because you think it might be against the other guy and it's on you, like, naturally you're gonna react a certain way. And I think if it was up to me, I would like to let those slide, but I understand, I think, why they don't want it to escalate. When we talk about we want Tatum to show emotion, we want him to show emotion in game. We want him and he has done that. I'm not criticizing him. Like, we want him to show emotion on both ends of the court. We want him to be fired up after he throws down a dunk or if he hits a three. There were points before the Celtics turned around last year where he would get fouled, or he would do this great move and score, and if he didn't get fouled, he would just be complaining about not getting the foul call instead of being like fired up that he just threw down a nice dunk or that he just made a nice move to the hoop. It's like we want him to be emotional for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons, I guess. Be fired up for your teammates, things like that. That's the leadership and emotion that you want. It's not being emotional about a non-call or a call. Like, that's clearly something the league is focusing on, especially when it comes to him. So, use your energy and emotions elsewhere. Don't use it on officiating where, like, the word is out now. Like, the label is out. It's been like 3 seasons of this, and now there's a target on your back. So you have to live with that, and you have to understand that. And it's too bad. It might cost him a couple fouls here and there. But he's going to have to earn it back by, changing the way he treats officials out there. And same with Grant. Grant's not even close to a superstar. He's not going to get superstar calls or non-calls. Like, I don't know.
It's weird that Grant does it. And he was in Montreal talking about, like, I said,
because that's just,
yeah.
Yeah.
I said
Personality.
ref the game, not your emotion. Like, why? You're giving up points. You're giving up opportunities for yourself to have a break later in the game, right? You get one technical, and now you can't really do much later.
Yeah. He's taking on that role, though. He's kind of taking on the goon role, right? He does the dirty work with getting people's faces. He'll knock a 3 in your face when you least expect it. He's
the problem
gotten
is
to that point where that's part of who he is.
I know the commenters are frustrated with their treatment, and I get it, right? Other teams, other players, like, I can't fathom the stuff Draymond does to the refs. I've seen him so many times in his career, just like tower over them and scream and yell and
it's 10 times worse.
Just do all this different stuff, and
they never even think of calling it that. He goes like this, like crazy.
LeBron can do whatever he wants. Like, he could have done the bump tonight, and he wouldn't have gotten ejected. Like, it's not fair. But you as players, you as a team, have to assess what they've done to you at this point and why they've done it, and change and try to adjust. Like, it's just like a game situation. Like, if the other team's rolling to the basket every time past your defensive scheme, you don't just stand there and say, like, why isn't the scheme working? You adjust. And it's got to be the same deal with the way you're getting called in these games and the way they're reacting to your reactions. You have to adjust and change so that you're not getting guys ejected, you're not getting technicals, and you're not getting mentally out of the game. And that's the biggest thing, right? Who cares if you get a tech as long as you're not getting ejected? You can't be getting lost in transition because you're complaining. And that's the biggest one there. I still remember against the Bucks in the playoffs last year, Tatum was in the backcourt after a drive, and his man, Wes Matthews, shoots up the floor and hits a 3, and they barely got the take foul off so they could prevent that 3. And Tatum, you saw him like slump his head because he knew he screwed up when the 3 went in. But now that take foul is gone, Jimmy. So, like, there's even more of an onus on getting back in transition.
Exactly. Get back in. And that was the problem with the Celtics tonight in that second quarter. They didn't get back. How many layups and drives and fast breaks did it look like the Bulls had in that second quarter? You have to get back. Last year, the Celtics offense was created through their defense. They're not going to be the Golden State Warriors. They're not just going to be able to just drop 130 a night. Like, they have to play defense. And again, I said this earlier in the show. I know Rob Williams isn't there, I'm sure that's part of, the cohesiveness, but a lot of defense is effort too. And I just felt at points tonight, they got lazy, whether it was not getting back on defense, whether it was just trying to score a quick three on the opposite end because they saw if you go down the first quarter. But it just wasn't winning basketball. And that's why you see how badly they lost tonight. To go from a 19-point lead to a 24-point deficit.
And it happened so fast.
Yeah, it really did. And part of that, again, might be that's a coaching thing. They're gonna have a lot of film to look at over the next couple of days. They don't play till Friday?
Yeah.
Kind of an unusual.
A lot of practice this week.
Yeah, they've got a lot to look at. Certainly they've got a bad taste in their mouth after tonight. And nobody wants to lose, but sometimes you need a loss like this because 3-0. Everyone's telling you how great you look. Bobby's writing articles on how effective Tatum is, and I'm hearing how Tatum and Brown are the best tandem in the NBA. Sometimes you need a little back to reality moment, and I think they definitely got that. They definitely got that tonight.
Oh man, he was so good to start the game too, and I was talking about that with Josue coming in too. Is the fact that they started making it rain. They were getting downhill with ease. It was coming to them so easily in that first quarter that you almost saw them in real time take their foot off the gas, and the Bulls started scoring a couple on breakouts. And like you said, it was sort of this back and forth open floor game. It was like pickup, and all of a sudden the game just kept getting tighter and tighter and tighter. You didn't get that timeout, and then it snuck up on them to start the second. But this was crazy to me. Josue pointed this out. Second quarter, you take 25 shots, you make 6. Just a dreadful offensive quarter. 16 of them were threes. And they're just launching them. Same deal as Orlando last night, or a couple nights ago, Jimmy.
Yeah.
They were launching and settling and getting out of that offense that worked. And it didn't cost them in Orlando, but it cost them here. And they are very jump shot reliant as a team right now. They don't have post touches. They don't have centers that can you throw inside to and get a basket. You don't have that pick and roll relief and rob. A lot of this is just passing along the perimeter, getting into early offense, and taking open threes. And tonight they couldn't hit them.
Yeah, you don't want to fall into that jump shooting trap, Bobby.
Right.
They just, as great as scorers as Tatum and Brown can be, they're not a team full of just jump shooters. You want to see them move the ball around, work it around, drive. I want to see
some play action.
The team basketball that we saw, for the second half of last year. Al Horford. What are we thinking of Al? Did you guys talk about Al at all?
No, but I wanted to.
No, we didn't. We spoke. We talked about it before you hopped on, Bobby. He hit those couple of threes, and then he kind of just you didn't see much of him offensively.
He missed.
I just think he had his hands full on defense. But what do you think, Bobby?
So offensively, at this point in his career, he doesn't give you a ton, and they should put the ball in his hands more as a playmaker at the elbow, I think, because that's his greatest strength, right? Is making quick decisions, running the offense, and breaking the game down with his mind, because he struggles to post. I think last year he went through that shooting slump to start the year too. I don't have his full numbers in front of me to start this year, but overall, I don't think he's been great.
Well, he was going into this one.
Yeah, I don't have a big problem with his start, but he is one of the many guys who has to double up their efforts on the boards. He said that tonight. 5, 5, 5, 4, 6 are his totals so far. And he didn't play a ton of minutes in this one either after the night off. And that's the other thing about this team now. You wonder is what kind of load can they put on him? How reliant do they have to be on him? And I'm still surprised he took that Orlando game off because he seemingly didn't want to. And then you come out here after a night off, and I don't think he had the greatest game in the world. So I'm interested to see how they're going to utilize him, how they're going to put him in the best position to succeed, because he played the 4 last year, right? So he wasn't banging around as much. He wasn't that guy on the boards always that needed to get in the mix in there. And now all of a sudden,
parking him at the 3-point line, right? He's just basically taking 3-pointers.
Yeah, offensively. And then defensively, I think Josue made a good point there. You're banging with Vucevic all night. So that takes a lot out of you. That's it, over the course of the season, that's gonna pile up on him and probably hurt his offense.
Right, Jimmy? That's sort of like how you can really get the Celtics vulnerable, like hit them in the vulnerable spot, right? Like you get their guys in foul trouble, their bigs in foul trouble. All of a sudden, the second unit comes in, and that's when you can really do your damage, especially if
And
their
that happened
shots aren't
on
falling.
that happened on opening night.
Yeah.
Right.
Too quick,
But the only thing is that it was fool's gold for them to think that the way that the 3-point shot was falling. What they started out 8 for 11, from behind the arc, they got to this big 19-point lead, and then everything went the other way.
Yeah, and when they're picking this one, because again, we were saying the other night this team was going to be a wagon and win a million games. So you come out and blow a 19-point lead. There's going to be a lot to nitpick here, as we should, and we're going to have to hold this team to a high standard, because I think we've all come back to a place where we're looking at this group, despite their injuries, despite some of their deficiencies, as a championship team. It's just going to take major efforts from them to get through this regular season and get through this period without Rob and find a new identity. And that's the thing right now. Like, they're looking for new rotations. They have a lot of new players, Brogdon, Hauser, all these centers we've mentioned. And they've emphasized that when we've talked to them, is the fact that they're not totally connected. They're not totally acclimated defensively. But it's been bad. Like, you look at their numbers right now, they are a bottom 5 defense. They're as bad as any defense in the league right now. And that's just not acceptable for a team that was historic on that end last year. And it's not just Rob. They were missing Rob for most of the playoffs, but their defensive numbers did go down in the playoffs too. So that takes a bite out of it. It's just going to take efforts from other people.
Well,
I think they have the personnel
to
do it. That's the thing.
That had to be
before Rob
many people's concern. Can
Want to pull up?
Me, or am I still
yeah, we got you.
I was just going to say defense has to be many people's concerns, because I thought that's what Ime did well, was to get these guys to believe in playing defense. And a lot of times what happens, as players get stars and they become a little bit more focused on scoring, on the short end of it, right? I'm not saying Marcus Smart, that's kind of what he prides himself in. But I'm thinking, some of the guys who might be thinking offense first are not have that same tenacity on the defensive end. So you can't get into these 125 to 120 wins every game or losses, right? You have to make some defensive stances and again, turn your defense into offense. That's the easiest way for them to get the wins that they're going to end up getting.
And it looks like a bunch of teams around the league are struggling on that end. And that transition foul, I was talking to a lot of people about that over the last couple of games, and everyone was just kind of brushing it off. The amount of teams I'm seeing right now, they're giving up almost 120 points per 100 is insane. Like Brooklyn, awful, 125. Oof, they're bad. Memphis, 121. Some other good teams here. Celtics are 25th in defense at 117. You have Denver at 115. These are big numbers to be given up. Even just a couple games in. Philly 114. But look up at your chief competitor in the East, the Bucks, 99. They're locking down through 2 games, and they're firing on all cylinders at 2-0. So you face some good teams so far, but that's your chief rival. They're really defending. Really showing that they're trying to get back at you this year after that loss in 7 games last year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some of these teams, some of the elite teams in the East, they've blown a couple of games like this. I mean, maybe not like this, but they've blown big leads too. But if you're the Celtics right now, this is a good time for you to regroup. You have all these days off to go through everything and find out what went wrong and just try to get back onto the you're going back home now, so. Hopefully they can get back to their winning ways, right?
And give Joe credit. They're number 2 in offense, and the offenses look great. But now it's time to double back. You got this week here, as you said, Jimmy. This should be a defense week, right? Camp was all about offense. I've heard they drilled offense through camp. This week, let's play some defense. Let's get these pick and roll coverages down. Let's make sure we're playing guys who know what they're doing on that end, and let's figure out what we want to do on that end, because I don't love this drop scheme. It worked against Miami. Didn't work tonight. We'll see what they come up with on Friday against a pretty prolific Cavs team. That's what's up next. 4 days off.
Ooh, Spider's coming.
3 days off, rather, here this week before Friday night home game against the Cavaliers, another team with guards that can really score. You got a game on Sunday, I believe, against the Wizards, who got guards that can really score. So there'll be more potential shootouts here that you're going to have to really defend in. And a couple of good days off here, rest and prepare for that. Anything else from you guys before we get out of here?
Well, I had the Cavs as my number 4 seed in my prediction. So I have high.
Yeah, what was up with that?
For the guy, dude, they're a young, fun team. I think they can surprise a lot of people. I'm a Mitchell guy. I mean, I know he's not, speaking of defense, I know he's not the defensive juggernaut that everyone wants him to be, but
He's
I
doing
just
everything
think he's
else,
the type of player that can.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He can just completely change it by himself. And when they get a young squad over there, so I kind of like them.
I'm excited to see them.
I don't think
I know Garland got hurt. Garland got a eye injury, a nasty eye injury, I guess. He shouldn't be back for that game, I'd imagine, but he did get a cut inside his eye that forced him out of practice late last week, and he missed a game or two as well. Looks like he's doing better the last I read here. So we'll see if Garland's ready for that one. Mitchell certainly will be. We will be. We'll have some people down at the Garden, including myself, for that game back from Florida. Hope everybody enjoyed the coverage down there. Some good stuff coming from there. Sherrod doing some good reporting down there as well. Yeah, the bucket hat broke out. It was nice. Oh man, I'm dreading these next few days here. It's like rain.
Yeah,
it's like
the last time
great rain now.
This year, man. That's it.
Yeah. But, well, I was thrilled I got to go down there, caught up with some old friends from high school who I hadn't seen like 6 years. That was awesome.
Wow.
And some good food, too. The Cuban food down in Miami.
Oh, man. Who you telling, Bobby?
Did
you go to the same spot?
Yeah, you should write about it.
We'll do. We'll also have basketball writing. That's what we were down there for on CLNSmedia.com.
Glad you enjoyed yourself in Miami, Bobby. Jeez.
Celtics all access.
That was fun.
Yeah, right. Dear Don, my friends from high school are still on a lag, unfortunately, but we want to remind first we want to thank everybody for watching. We remind everybody that if you're interested, which you should be, our good friend John Zanis will be live in just a few minutes. The rumor is he's going live at 12. Talk about this Patriots disaster. I can't wait.
I'm about to go downstairs.
I know. We're going to give everyone just enough time to regroup, get your snacks, brush your teeth, whatever it is you're going to do. We're going to have a very interesting
I can't wait.
Patriots
get your popcorn, baby.
John's about to go off on this team, I can imagine.
There's so much to talk about.
Got lit up by the Bears.
I'll tell you what, the Celtics got lucky tonight because there's not going to be, locally, I don't think you're going to get too much Celtics talk on the airwaves tomorrow. I think it's going to be mostly Patriots, whether it's this quarterback controversy. Is it Mac? Is it Zappy? Is it neither of them? Right. I mean, I think when you have 2 quarterbacks, you have 0 quarterbacks, and that kind of.
It was so dumb. I don't want to get into it. We'll let the experts do it. But how dumb was that? Oh, we're gonna play both tonight, and I feel like they rushed Mac back. Would he practice once, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Apparently, he took the bulk of the snaps on Saturday. But yeah, I mean, I can't figure out what they're thinking. I mean, and I'll say this: Patriots fans at the game tonight, what are you doing? You just alienated your first round pick. He's practically booed off the home field.
So stupid.
And I don't know what's. Listen, I'll tell you what.
And the Magic Man couldn't get it done tonight. How'd Zappy look?
Well, I missed all the bad stuff. He looked unbelievable the first couple snaps. Everybody thought they had the second coming, but by the looks of the score, things went south very quickly. I think he threw a couple picks. I know that obviously the Patriots defense, a little bit of Swiss cheese action going on. So it's going to be a very interesting Patriots show. We can guarantee you that. We want to thank our sponsors one more time, Calm, for being so good to us and keeping us sane through a game like this. You guys we're going to want to go to calm.com/garden for 40% off your subscription. We love Calm, and that's just a great place to go to sort of reset. There it is, calm.com/garden. 40% off a Calm premium subscription. They've got soundscapes, music, sleep stories, pretty much anything that you need to fall asleep or to sort of come down from a tough game or at the office, it's there to help you out. And then secondly, our other great sponsor, Athletic Greens, AG1. Hit up athleticgreens.com/garden for free and 5 free travel packs with your first. We all take it. Quick little powder. Drop it in the water bottle in the morning. Chug it on your way out the door, and you've got your enough vitamins a day. So we want to thank Athletic Greens for for supporting us, and we want to thank you guys. And if you do sign up for either of those two subscriptions, take a picture of that receipt, DM it to our good friend John Zanis, who will be, again, live in a few minutes here. And you will get a free, Bobby?
Phenomenal T-shirt. Only one phenomenal thing tonight, the first 8 minutes.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah, that's not a shirt you'd wear after tonight's game. But we are told that they are hot off the presses, and they will be
and if you get both,
soon.
If you get both, we'll throw in a bucket hat.
Is that true? That's awesome.
No, that's right. Not an offer. Yeah, we're working on that one maybe for next year.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
That's a playoff.
What are we doing? What are we giving away?
We'll do a playoff promo. All right, guys, we're gonna head out of here. You guys have a few minutes to, like I said, reset and come hang out with John and talk.
I'll be in the chat. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I'll go over there.
I'll be in the chat.
I'm about to hop on Discord. Check me out there.
Also,
Josue's going over Discord.
All right, Josue Discord. I want to apologize one more time for my horrific Brockton Wi-Fi. There it is. Join our Discord server now. clnsmedia.com/Discord. Josue, I feel your pain tonight. Hopefully we can get it sorted out.
Why are you apologizing?
Josue was pristine. You should talk to Josue for some advice.
No. Don't ruin it over here. Right? Figure it out on your own.
For whatever reason, like the Wi-Fi that Josue was harnessing is now over here. I got to figure out how to get it back to him.
Go back under the hood, Jimmy. All right. Good night, everybody.
All right. See you guys. Peace.